Random creepypasta. And on January 9th, 2015, let's see, Alex Sorrow wrote a story called Black Fog. So, sure, let's read this fog. Everything, all of this chaos and madness, began with the Black Fog. It was just an ordinary day when the news reported a strange phenomenon, a wispy black cloud fog, steadily making its way towards the west coast of the country from over the ocean. Nobody really cared at first. As you'd expect, it wasn't hurting anybody, maybe sailors and planes flying over the ocean, but life for everyone continued as normal. When the news would talk about what we now know as the Black Fog, people would nod, show mild interest, and say something like, "Oh yeah, that's interesting," and then be done with it. Until the Black Fog hit the west coast. Cities on the seaside were the first to be hit and covered with the Black Fog. The news stations went crazy, every station frantically pointing their cameras at the fog to capture footage of the unique event. Personally, it always looked like a thick cloud of smoke instead of a city covered in fog. The news said that nobody from the outside world could contact anybody in the fog. A nationwide panic was beginning, and it grew fast. People who had previously disregarded the Black Fog now was looking for ways to leave the country, as news reported that the Black Fog was still heading east, determined to devour the entire country. With mass hysteria of this magnitude, it could be safely assumed that plenty of doomsday prophets came forward with explanations about the fog's origin. It quickly became obvious to me that these prophets of the apocalypse were nothing more than crazies who walked into the news station from off the street. Nearly every scenario imaginable was told as a reason for the Black Fog's existence. God's wrath on humanity, the apocalypse, aliens seeking a safe place to land in their spacecraft, the Black Fog was simple fog, mixed up with pollutants in the air, or it was a publicity stunt for a new movie. It was the government using the fog for some purpose. Cthulhu was rising. We heard everything, but none of the theories seemed to make sense. There was a few more days of chaotic news reports, and then the Black Fog came to my town. I was walking home that fateful afternoon, turning a street corner to see my two-story home come down into view of a street. Cars breezed past me at a steady pace. Coming down towards me on the sidewalk was a mother pushing a baby in her stroller, with an enthusiastic little boy running ahead of her, cheerfully telling his mommy to hurry up. The grass was bright green in the warm summer atmosphere. There were only a few white clouds to distract the wild blue yonder above. A red car, the sides splattered with a thick mud, raced past me. Bright yellow orb in the sky. I beamed down on the world, covering us in sunlight. If there's anything I can remember from that day, it was the colors. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a dark giant stood up on the horizon and loomed over the city, blotting out the sun. The cars stopped in the middle of the road, leading cars to crash into them. People began to scream. Some hysterical woman wailed, "It's here!" As I looked up at the black fog, blotting out the sky, it swept over the city quickly, shrouding me in a cave of blackness. I stumbled through the fog, unable to see my own two hands in front of me. The world around me looked as if it was covered in smoke, but I could breathe in it normally. I heard people screaming, the sound frightfully clear. There's a screeching of tires and cars as it stopped, and the sound of crunching metal as other cars crashed into each other. In my mind, I could picture the street as it had been before the fog hit. My house was a few yards down the street. If I could find a way inside, I could wait the fog out and see if it would disappear and leave the city. I began walking towards my house uneasily. I heard people cry out for help. It was as though I had become blind. I took my steps with care and tripped over a blunt object when I was halfway down the street. I climbed to my feet with a sense of direction, disoriented. How close to my house was I? I just gave it my best guess and made my way forward. I had to walk around a parked car, and after tripping over the curb and falling onto the sidewalk on the other side of the road, my shoes felt the grass beneath them. I wasn't entirely sure if it was my yard. I worked my way to the front door of the house. I sighed in relief when I realized it was mine. I heard inside quickly closing the door behind me. The fog hadn't gotten to my house, which I was thankful for. Only a little of it got in when I opened the door, but I could still see windows displayed nothing but black. It was as though I was standing in my house at night, a starless, moonless night. I sat down, took a few deep breaths to calm myself, and turned on the TV. I began to watch the news. If anything was being done about the black fog, surely they would have reported it. The news anchors were calm, but to my dismay they had nothing to report. They said black fog was perfectly natural and explainable. They said that the entire nation had been covered in an unbelievably quick way, and the president has been evacuated for his own safety. I changed the channel right there, cutting off a blonde newswoman in mid-sentence. On the channel, they weren't calling the fog natural. They were talking about the president and pretending this wasn't a natural emergency. Instead, they were panicking. People who looked like normal civilians ran around the station in frenzy with the camera's view rested on the guy sitting behind the news desk, sitting in the middle of all the chaos. He stammered as he spoke, but tried to maintain the order somehow. There were no signs to report of any rescues from the seaside city, nor did the black fog show any signs of receding. The guy was saying, as I watched, he managed to stop one of the frightened civilians and asked him to say a few things for the camera. My name's Adam. Adam began, breathing heavily. That shit out there is crazy, yeah? Hey, fog, something else? Adam wiped off his sweaty forehead and cleared his throat. We heard rumors that you could see the black fog if you have a flashlight or fire. We sent a guy out into the fog with one of those big-ass flashlights and still hasn't come back yet. I remained in my living room in complete disbelief that this was happening. I had barely registered anything that the news said. Not that it said much. The only thing they could talk about was the black fog because nobody knew anything about it. There wasn't much to say. I couldn't tell if it was day or night outside, so I tried to sleep according to the clocks in my house. I slept on the hardwood floor in the living room, too weary and afraid to climb upstairs into my bedroom. When I woke up, I immediately turned on the TV again. Inside the news station, there were sleeping people mixed with people standing off camera and rapid discussion of what to do. It was as though they had forgot to turn the camera off. I decided to wait and see if they were going to give any piece of news that was worthwhile, and I went to the kitchen to fix myself something to eat. Fortunately, I had made a trip to the grocery store that day before it had started. Despite this, my appetite still wavered when I looked at the food. The black fog didn't feel real to me, almost like some kind of demented nightmare. But it still hurt to think about. I returned to the living room without eating anything, and sat down on the couch and stared at the TV. After staring at the screen and listening to the people in the news station talk for an hour, I groaned. Survival was boring. I turned my head to the living room window and examined it from where I sat curiously. I think Adam had said something about being able to see in the black fog with... I jumped off the couch and stumbled over to the hall closet. After shuffling through coats and miscellaneous things, I found a flashlight. Clicking it on, I sighed in relief when a bright beam of light shot out. The first light I'd seen since it all started. I pointed the flashlight towards the living room window and froze when I saw a face outside. There was a man standing outside the window, his thin nose barely touching the glass. His face was horrible, yet I couldn't look away. His skin hung loosely on him, making him look like an old man. He had a long silver hair on his head, a few strands of which were simply dangling limply from his face, but also had huge bald patches. The worst part was that the man was smiling at me. He had a wide, toothy grin, but his eyes had black irises and white pupils near the bottom of the window. I could see that he was wearing a torn-up shirt, but his smile hypnotized me. His eyes burned into mine. There was no color to the man at all. Thin cuts on the sides of his face were an inky black. He was nearly completely unmoving, only moving the slightest bit as he breathed. The light from the flashlight didn't seem to affect him at all. I moved closer to the window and wrapped my fist on the glass, and the colorless man only stared. I turned the flashlight off. The man disappeared into the fog. I turned the light back on. It was visible again. Adam was right. It is possible to see in the black fog with a flashlight. I was intrigued by the colorless man, but also very frightened. How long had he been outside my window? A shiver ran down my back when I realized that he could have been watching me sleep. I was unnerved with this endless staring and amused smile. As much as I wanted to stay and watch the news in my living room, I instead found excuses to stay out. I found myself looking through the entry in my kitchen for almost half an hour, thinking to myself alone in a chair in my room upstairs, quietly thinking about when the fog would lift. But I couldn't stay out of the living room forever. I eventually went back. The first thing I did was flash a light at the window to see if the colorless man was still there, and he was. Indeed, he didn't seem to have moved at all since I first realized he was there. Unsettled, I turned off my flashlight to conserve the batteries, but also so I wouldn't have to look at him. I made myself comfortable on the couch and turned my attention to the news where Adam was talking. Things in the black fog are everywhere, he was saying. Because the fog is probably covering the whole world now. Stay vigilant. A miracle has happened. It seemed that it wasn't the only one that had detected the presence of things in the fog. Adam delivered reports of mutilated bodies found in the streets with their eyes and mouths and their teeth and their eye sockets, and more of the news station survivors chimed in behind him with more information and told of strange thumps outside safe shelters where people held up, waiting for it to end. There was no denying it. Something unnatural was in the black fog. Maybe something beyond the colorless man outside my window. I decided to sleep upstairs in my bedroom that night. I shined a flashlight at the window before trudging upstairs to see if the colorless man had left. He was still there. Only his eyes had moved to follow me. I had gotten upstairs, placed the flashlight under my pillow, kneeled, gotten into my bed, and slept, something I hadn't done for a very long time. I prayed. That night I dreamed the light returned to the world. Families walked down sidewalks. Children shouted to each other as they played. The grass was dark green and the sky burned blue. The wind was crisp, gently caressing my cheek as it passed by. I looked around in wonder. Then somebody standing behind me whirled around to see the colorless man standing with that same grin on his face. This time there was no glass separating us. I woke up sweating. First thing I saw was my bedroom window. Out of curiosity, I took a flashlight from under my pillow and pointed it at my window, my thumb flicking the switch on. I don't know what I was expecting to be there. I was probably thinking the colorless man would somehow be outside my second floor bedroom. Somehow was out there, but it wasn't him. This time it was a woman with pale skin and long black hair. She looked younger than the colorless man, probably in her 20s, but she had the same crooked grin, the same vacant eyes, the same unsettling stare. She was also completely drained of color as well. I immediately fell off my bed and screamed at the colorless woman. The colorless woman stared on. I crawled to my feet and slammed the bedroom doors. I hurried out of the hallway. As soon as it had shut, I noticed another window in the hallway. I flashed the light at it, and I gasped when the fat, colorless man came into the light, grinning, although laughing at a private joke. I didn't know what to do. Total panic seized me, causing me to flee from the unseen eyes of the black fog. I shined a flashlight out the window I came across, found another colorless woman in the guest room and a window, and a thin, colorless man looking into the upstairs bathroom. Before I managed to reach the stairs, we flew down them and dived into the kitchen, where I ducked under the table trying to catch my breath. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see the kitchen window. As much as I didn't want to know if one of them was out there, I still flashed. This was the worst one yet. He resembled a wolf with a wide snout, shaggy like fur, and a pointed ears. That's just a furry, don't worry. And he stared with a wide, hungry pupil, his white eyes. For a crazy moment, I thought it must have been a wolf's skull mask with a thick dog tongue slid out of his mouth and licked his chops as he continued to gaze at me. There was a colorless person in every window of my house. I realized I stumbled to my kitchen to get starving eyes of the colorless wolf. Found myself standing in the living room, flicked the flashlight on, pointed it out the window to see the colorless man still there, patiently waiting. I stared. His grin widened, fangs like razors. The back of his eyes flashed red. The first color I'd seen since the black fog arrived, and the flashlight died, leaving me alone in the dark. As I stood there, blinking in utter blackness, all that surrounded me, I was impressed by all sides by something tapping on the living room window. As a response, the colorless people began tapping on every window in the house. The sound was maddening, but completely in unison and growing louder, more frequent as every second crept past, and I've been listening to them ever since. All of them. Just tapping on the windows. The sound never leaves, the sound never stops, never pauses, listening to that endless noise. That it's tearing my mental state in half. I don't know how much longer I can take this. I just heard a window break. God, I hope it isn't the wolf. Well, a very, 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 very lengthy story. It's decently written, but honestly, really boring near this end here. I was expecting that the window breaking thing that didn't need to happen. How? This guy's certainly dead. Alex Sorrow. Let's see what else Alex Sorrow has worked on in the past. All of his things have dead or death in the thing. Okay, so I finally found out that Alex Sorrow. Okay, it's not that good a story. I've got to admit. How long and boring it became. I liked the idea at the front, but I thought this was like a 5-minute story maximum. I wasn't ready for it to be that long. So that's the Black Fog by Alex Sorrow. 6 out of 10, I guess.